Ethan never expected his birthday to be different from any other day. He woke up in his small apartment, stretched his arms, and looked at the clock. The world outside his window was quiet. The city was waking slowly. He thought about the messages, from his friends, the few gifts he might get, and maybe a lonely dinner later. Nothing seemed special, nothing seemed new. But then, a sound came from his front door, a heavy thud, like something large had been dropped there. Ethan frowned. He was not expecting any package. He walked slowly to the door, his heart beating faster for no reason. When he opened it, his life changed forever. There was a strange capsule on the doorstep. It was smooth, silver, and glowing faintly with a blue light. It looked like no box or machine he had ever seen before. On top of it was a single note, written. In sharp black ink, the words were short but chilling. "This is your gift. Protect her well or lose everything." Ethan stared at the capsule. His hands shook as he touched its surface. It felt warm, alive almost, like it was breathing. With a hiss, the capsule opened. Inside, lying still, was a woman. She was not human. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow, her hair long and shining like threads of light. Her face was beautiful, too beautiful, almost unreal. Ethan's breath caught. He stepped back, his mind racing. What was this? A joke? A dream? Or some kind of trap? The woman's chest rose and fell slowly. She was alive, only sleeping. Ethan looked around nervously, half expecting cameras, neighbors, or men in black suits to jump out. But the street was empty, silent. Only he and the strange gift remained. He whispered to himself, What do I do? He could not call the police. They would take her away, maybe take him too. He could not tell his friends. They would never believe him. Finally, he dragged the capsule inside and shut the door quickly. His heart pounded as if the walls themselves were watching. The woman stirred. Her eyelids fluttered, and slowly she opened her eyes. They were not human eyes. They glowed faint blue, like stars trapped in glass. And the first word she spoke froze Ethan to the core. She whispered his name, Ethan. He stumbled backward, his mouth dry. How do you know my name? He asked in a shaking voice. The alien woman blinked slowly, as if waking from a long dream. Her lips moved again, soft and strange. Because I was sent to you. Ethan's head spun. He wanted to run, to hide, but his legs felt heavy. The note echoed in his mind. Protect her well or lose everything. Who had sent her? What did they mean, and why him? He was just an ordinary man. Nothing special, no power, no importance. The woman sat up weakly, her body trembling. Her silver hair fell across her shoulders, glowing softly in the dim light of the apartment. She looked at Ethan with eyes full of sadness and fear. You are human, she whispered. You are different. Then her strength failed and she nearly collapsed. Ethan rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Her skin was warm, softer than anything he had ever touched. He felt her heartbeat, fast and fragile. He placed her carefully on the couch. Unsure what else to do, questions burned in his head, but no answers came. For a long moment, Ethan just stared at her. His birthday had turned into something out of a dream, or a nightmare. Was she dangerous? Or was she in danger? Was she truly a gift or a curse waiting to destroy him? He could not decide, but one thing was clear. His life would never be the same again. Suddenly, a faint humming sound filled the room. Ethan turned sharply, searching for the source. Through the window, he saw strange lights in the sky, moving too fast to be planes. His stomach dropped. Whatever this woman was, she had not come alone. The lights blinked, then vanished into the clouds. But Ethan knew deep down that they were watching, searching. The woman on his couch opened her glowing eyes again and whispered, "They will come. For me. Soon." Ethan felt a chill run through him. Who were they? Why did they want her? And why had she been sent to him? He looked at her, fragile and strange, and realized he had no choice. Whether he wanted it or not, he was now part of something far bigger than himself. The note's warning rang again in his mind: protect her well, or lose everything. And Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The night felt longer than any night Ethan had ever lived. He sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the strange woman sleeping under a blanket. Her silver hair shimmered even in the dim light. Her glowing eyes closed now, but the memory of them still burned in his mind. Outside, the city was silent, but in his heart, there was only noise, questions that had no answers. Who was she? Why? Was she here, and why had she whispered his name? The note's warning haunted him: protect her well or lose everything. He had no idea what that meant. Was his life in danger, or the whole planet? He wanted to believe it was all some strange prank, but every time he looked at her, he knew the truth. This was real, too real. Hours passed before she stirred again. Her breathing grew quicker. Her fingers twitched, and then her eyes opened. That soft blue glow returned, brighter now, as if she had drawn strength from her sleep. Ethan froze, waiting for her to speak. Instead, she looked around the small apartment with wonder, her gaze touching the walls, the books, the lamp, as if everything was strange and new to her. Finally, her voice broke the silence, quiet but clear. "This world is heavy," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "Heavy," he repeated. "What do you mean?" She looked at him, her eyes almost sad. "The air, the weight. I feel it pressing. Earth is different from my home." Ethan rubbed his forehead, his thoughts spinning. "You're an alien," he muttered. "You came from space." The woman tilted her head as if the word was new to her. "I am Liara," she said softly. "From the house of Aloria, but no longer." Her words hung in the air like sharp glass, heavy with meaning Ethan could not understand. "What is the house of Aloria?" he asked carefully. She closed her eyes for a moment, as if remembering something painful. "It was once light, once power, once my family," she said. "But enemies took it, broke it, and I was sent away, not as a daughter, not as a queen, but as a gift." The way she said the word gift was filled with anger and shame. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. He remembered the note again: protect her well, or lose everything. His stomach tightened. "What do you mean by gift?" he asked slowly. Liara's voice trembled. "I was given to you, sent through the stars, not because they care for you, but because they hate me. They wanted me far away, powerless, forgotten." Her words shook Ethan more than he wanted to admit. He stared at her, trying to find a lie, a trick, but her glowing eyes only showed truth. He was no hero, no soldier, just an ordinary man. Why would the universe throw something like this into his life? Why him? Before he could ask, a strange sound filled the room. Liara gasped, her body tensing, her eyes glowing brighter. Ethan looked around, panic rising. The sound was coming from her, low and humming, like a storm building inside her chest. "What's happening?" he shouted. "I cannot control it," she whispered, her voice cracking. "The air here, it feeds the energy. I am too weak to hold it back." Her body began to glow brighter, her skin shining like molten silver. The lights in the apartment flickered. The television sparked even though it was off. Ethan rushed forward, grabbing her shoulders. "Stop, you'll burn yourself." She looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "I do not want this. I do not want to hurt." Ethan pulled her close, ignoring the heat, ignoring the fear. "It's okay," he said, though his voice shook. "You're not alone now. You're safe." Something in his words reached her. The glow slowed, the humming faded, and finally the light died down. Liara collapsed against him, trembling. Her breath heavy and uneven, Ethan held her until she calmed. He could smell a faint metallic scent like stars and iron. When she finally pulled back, her face was pale, her eyes dimmer. "You should not help me," she whispered. "They will come, and if they find you near me, they will destroy you." Her warning made Ethan shiver, but deep inside he felt something strange. Fear, yes, but also anger. Whoever these they were, they thought he was too small, too weak, just a nobody who would give her up. But Ethan clenched his fists, looking at Liara with new resolve. "No," he said firmly. "You ended up here with me, that means something. If they come, then they'll have to face me too." Liara looked at him with shock, then slowly, almost gently, she smiled. It was the first real smile she had given, and it lit up her whole face. "You are human," she whispered. "Strange, stubborn, human." Ethan shrugged. "Maybe, but I'm not letting them take you." For the first time since her arrival, the room felt calm. But far above the city, hidden behind the clouds, strange lights moved again, silent, watching, waiting. The hunters had found her trail, and soon, Ethan would learn that his promise carried a weight far greater than he could imagine. This was no longer just a birthday. Surprise, it was the beginning of a war he did not yet understand. The morning came, but Ethan felt no peace. Sunlight pushed through the curtains, yet his apartment felt darker than ever. Liara sat on the couch, her silver hair glowing faintly in the daylight, her blue eyes fixed on the window as if she could see through walls. She had hardly spoken since the night before, but the fear in her silence was louder than any words. Ethan paced the floor, restless. His heart carried too many questions, but one burned more than the rest. Who were they? The hunters she warned him about? The ones who might already be searching? He wanted to believe the world outside was safe, ordinary. But when he looked at her trembling hands, he knew it was not. Liara finally spoke, her voice low. "They are close, I can feel them." Ethan stopped in his tracks. "What do you mean, feel them?" Her eyes glowed faintly. "Their machines disturb the air. Their presence bends the light. They hunt with silence, but silence has weight." Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. "You're saying they're already here, on Earth?" Liara nodded slowly, her face pale. Ethan felt a surge of panic. He had no weapons, no plan, no idea what to do if strange alien hunters came knocking on his door. The sound of a car passing by made him jump. The world outside seemed normal. Children going to school, neighbors walking their dogs, life moving as it always did. But behind, the calm, something unnatural waited. Liara's eyes followed every movement, every shadow. Ethan realized the hunters could be anyone, anywhere, hidden in plain sight. He pulled the curtains shut. "We can't stay here. If they're watching, this place is a trap." Liara looked at him with quiet agreement. "Then we must run." Her words carried weight, as if she had been running her whole life. Ethan grabbed a backpack, stuffed in water, food, and a blanket, his hands shaking the whole time. It felt strange leaving his home behind, but he knew staying was death. The two slipped out the back door, moving through alleys and empty streets. Liara walked carefully, her glowing presence hidden under Ethan's jacket still. She drew stairs. There was something about her that no disguise could fully cover. They boarded a bus heading out of the city, Ethan's eyes scanning every passenger, an old man, a mother with a child, two students with headphones, ordinary, harmless. But his gut whispered otherwise. Halfway through the ride, Liara leaned close to him, her voice barely a breath. "They are here." Ethan stiffened. "What do you mean here?" Her glowing eyes darted to the back of the bus. Two men sat there, dressed like everyone else, but their eyes were too still, too sharp. Ethan followed her gaze and felt cold fear creep into his chest. The men rose at the next stop, but they didn't leave. They moved closer step by step as the bus rolled through the streets. Ethan's pulse raced, his palms slick with sweat. He whispered, "Stay behind me," though he knew he could not fight them. The taller man's hand brushed his jacket, and for a second Ethan saw it, a small metallic weapon hidden in his grip. "Not human tech, not of this world, run," Liara whispered sharply. At the next stop, Ethan grabbed her hand and pushed through the doors before they closed. They stumbled onto the street, rushing through a crowded marketplace. The hunters followed, their movements fast, too fast, blending through the crowd like shadows. Ethan pulled Liara into an alley, his chest burning as he gasped for breath. But the hunters were already there, their glowing eyes locking onto Liara. One of them spoke, his voice deep and cold. "Return with us, runaway. Your exile is not over." Liara's hands shook, her body glowing faintly. "I will not go back." The hunters raised their strange weapons, energy humming dangerously in the air. Ethan's body moved before his mind. He grabbed a loose metal pipe from the ground, standing between them and Liara. "You'll have to go through me," he shouted, though fear made his voice crack. The hunters tilted their heads, almost amused. "You are human," one said. "You cannot fight us." Ethan gripped the pipe tighter. "Maybe not, but I won't let you take her." For a moment, time froze. Two aliens with advanced weapons against one man with nothing but courage. Then the air exploded with light. Liara cried out, her body blazing brighter than ever before. Energy surged from her skin, shaking the walls around them. The hunters staggered back, shielding their faces from the sudden glow. Ethan turned, watching in shock as her power spilled out uncontrolled. The ground cracked, lights burst, and the air smelled of burning metal. Liara's voice broke through the chaos. "Ethan, run. I cannot stop it." But Ethan did not run. He grabbed her shoulders again, shouting over the storm, "Then let me help you. You're not alone anymore." Her eyes met his, wide with fear, but also trust. The glow around her shifted, softened, as if his words had anchored her. The hunters recovered quickly, their weapons raised again, but the glow around Liara turned into a shield, a wall of light that blocked their strikes. The energy burned brighter, forcing the hunters to retreat into the shadows, disappearing into the crowd. When the light finally faded, Liara collapsed, weak but alive. Ethan held her, breathing hard, his arms trembling. "They won't stop," she whispered, her voice broken. "They will come again, stronger. They will never stop." Ethan looked down at her, sweat running down his face, fear burning in his chest. But under the fear was something else, anger. "They'll have to," he said firmly. "Because if they want you, they'll always have to go through me first." Above them, hidden high in the sky, more shadows moved across the clouds. The hunt had only begun, and Earth was no longer safe. The forest was quiet, but Ethan felt no peace. He and Liara had left the city behind, taking refuge in the shadows of tall trees. Birds sang above them, but their soft songs could not hide the fear pressing against his chest. Every crack of a branch, every rustle of leaves, sounded like footsteps of hunters closing in. Liara sat against a fallen log, her face pale, her body weak after the fight. Her silver hair shimmered faintly, but her eyes were dim. Ethan knelt beside her, his voice low. "You need rest. We can't keep running like this." Liara looked at him, her gaze heavy with secrets. "Rest will not save us, Ethan. There are truths you must know." Ethan frowned, his stomach twisting. He had known from the moment she appeared that she carried more than just beauty. But the way she spoke now, so serious, made his skin crawl. "What kind of truths?" he asked. Liara's hands trembled as she pressed them together. "The truth of why I was sent here." Her voice shook, yet she forced the words out. "I was not sent as a gift of kindness. I was sent as a burden, an exile, a death sentence." Ethan stared, his chest tightening. "What do you mean, a death sentence?" Liara closed her eyes, pain flashing across her face. "My people, the house of Aloria, once ruled with light, but power breeds envy, and envy breeds betrayal." She drew a long breath before continuing. "My enemies tore everything apart. They destroyed my family. They branded me dangerous. They feared what I might become. They wanted me erased, but to hide their cruelty, they cloaked it in ceremony. They sent me away as a gift, dressed in lies, wrapped in shame." Her voice cracked, her glowing eyes dimming. "But I was not a gift, Ethan. I was meant to disappear." Ethan felt anger boil inside him, his fists clenched, his jaw tight. "How could they do that?" he whispered. "How could they throw you away like some object?" Liara gave a bitter smile. Because power does not see people, Ethan. Only threats. I was a threat they could not control. For a long moment, silence filled the forest. Ethan tried to make sense of her words. He thought about the hunters, their weapons, their cold voices calling her runaway. Now he understood. She was not running from justice, but from execution. She was not dangerous because of what she had done, but because of what she might do. Finally, he asked, "Why me? Why send you to Earth? Why to me?" Liara shook her head, her expression torn. "I do not know. Perhaps they chose at random. Perhaps they studied you. Perhaps it was chance." Her eyes softened. "But I believe there is meaning. There must be." Ethan wanted to argue, but the thought dug into his chest. Out of billions of people, why had she landed at his door? He was not a soldier, not a leader, just an ordinary man. And yet she spoke his name. The moment she woke, it was as if fate itself had tied them together. The wind picked up, carrying strange whispers through the leaves. Liara tensed, her eyes scanning the tree line. "They are searching," she said softly. "But not only hunters. There are others." Ethan's blood ran cold. "Others?" "Yes," she replied. "Spies, shadows, even humans. They will trade me for power. They will betray without question." Ethan remembered the faces on the bus, the hunters hiding as ordinary men. Now he wondered, how many more were out there, watching? Could his neighbors be spies? Could the police be waiting for him? The thought made his stomach churn. Liara's voice cut through his fear. "You must decide, Ethan. If you stay with me, you are marked, hunted. Your world will no longer be your own." Her words were sharp, but her eyes pleaded. Ethan looked at her trembling hands, her fragile frame wrapped in strength and sorrow. "I've already decided," he said firmly. "I'm not leaving you." For the first time, her glowing eyes softened. She leaned closer, whispering, "Then know this. If they find us, they will not just kill me. They will kill you too. Or worse, use you to control me." Ethan felt the weight of her warning, but his resolve only grew. "I don't care," he said. "If they come, we'll face them together." The ground shook suddenly, a deep rumble echoing through the forest. Liara's eyes widened. "They are near." Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her up. Branches snapped in the distance, the sound of something heavy moving closer. But before the hunters could appear, Liara gasped sharply, her eyes locking on Ethan. "There is more you must know," she whispered quickly. "I am not only a target, I am a key." Ethan froze. "A key? To what?" "To doors better left closed," she said, her voice urgent. "To powers your world is not ready for. That is why they fear me. That is why they want me gone." Before Ethan could respond, a beam of light tore through the forest, burning. The trees where they had stood moments before. The hunters were here, their glowing weapons aimed and ready. Ethan pulled Liara behind cover, his heart hammering. Her words echoed in his mind. A key to powers your world is not ready for. What powers, what doors, what truth was she hiding, and why did fate place all of it into his hands? The battle for answers was only beginning. The forest still echoed with the memory of the hunters' weapons. Trees lay broken, smoke curled from the earth, and the smell of burned wood filled the air. Ethan and Liara had escaped deeper into the wilderness, their steps heavy, their breaths uneven. The danger was not gone, but for a moment, silence wrapped. Around them, they stopped near a river, its water cold and clear. Ethan knelt to drink, his hands shaking from exhaustion. Liara watched him quietly, her silver hair glowing faintly under the sunlight that slipped through the branches. She looked fragile, but her eyes carried storms heavier than anything Ethan had ever seen. Finally she spoke, her voice soft. "Why do you stay, Ethan?" He glanced at her, confused. "What do you mean?" She lowered her gaze. "I am hunted. I am cursed. To follow me is to walk into death. You should have left me behind." Ethan wiped his face with the back of his hand, his voice steady. "I couldn't. That's not who I am. Her glowing eyes searched his as if trying to read his soul. "In my world," she whispered, "kindness is weakness, trust is poison. To care for another is to invite betrayal." Ethan shook his head. "Not here. Not with me. I don't care what your people believe. I'll protect you no matter what." Something flickered in her eyes, something fragile yet warm. For the first time since she arrived, she did not look like a prisoner of fear. She looked almost human, touched by a feeling she had never known. Liara knelt by the river, dipping, her hand into the cold water. The ripples glowed faintly where her skin touched, as if her presence made the river itself shine. "You are strange, Ethan," she whispered. "Strange, but strong." Ethan gave a small smile. "You're one to talk." Her lips curved faintly, the closest thing to a laugh he had ever heard from her. It was soft, but it carried hope. The peace did not last. Above the tree line, strange lights flickered again, scanning the ground. Liara's face hardened, her voice low. "They are still. Hunting? We cannot rest long." Ethan nodded, though his body begged for rest. He stood, helping her to her feet, their hands brushing. The contact was brief, but it left warmth lingering between them. They walked for hours, deeper into the forest. Liara moved with grace even in weakness, while Ethan stumbled, unused to the harsh ground. Yet every time he faltered, she steadied him, her touch light but steady. Slowly, their roles shifted. He was not only protecting her, she was protecting him too. As night fell, they found shelter in a small cave. The air was damp, the ground hard, but it was safety for the moment. Ethan built a small fire, its glow lighting the cave walls. Liara sat across from him, her eyes reflecting the flames like stars in the dark. After a long silence, she spoke again. "Do you know why humans frighten the galaxy?" Ethan raised his eyebrows. "We frighten the galaxy? We don't even leave our own planet." Liara shook her head slowly. "Not yet. But your hearts, they are unlike any others. You fight without reason, you hope without proof, you love without limits. That power is greater than any weapon." Ethan stared at her, unsure what to say. She leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "That is why they sent me here, Ethan. Not only to erase me, but to see what happens when a creature like me meets a human like you." Her words sent a chill down his spine. He realized this was not only her story, it was his too. He was part of something larger, something that could change not just Earth but the stars themselves. The fire crackled, shadows dancing on the walls. Liara looked at him with quiet intensity. "Do you regret it? Meeting me? Protecting me?" Ethan shook his head firmly. "No, not for a second." Her eyes softened, her lips trembling as if holding back words. She could not yet say. Outside, the night carried strange noises, whispers of hunters in the distance. But inside the cave, a different kind of silence grew. Not fear, not despair, but connection. Two lives bound by chance or maybe fate. Liara closed her eyes, leaning against the wall. Her voice drifted softly. "If I survive, it will be because of you, Ethan. If I fall, it will be because of me." Ethan stared into the flames. His chest, heavy with emotion, he knew she was more than a fugitive, more than an alien queen. She was someone broken, someone searching for trust. And he knew he would give it, no matter the cost. As the fire dimmed, he lay beside her, not touching, but close. The sound of her steady breathing filled the cave. For the first time, he felt less like a man running from death and more like someone fighting for life. But in the distance, unseen above the clouds, the hunters prepared again, stronger and angrier. The bond between human and alien had formed, but it would be tested in fire, and Ethan knew the next battle would decide more than survival. It would decide the meaning of trust itself. The cave was silent, but the silence was a lie. Ethan woke to the sound of distant thunder, though no storm touched the sky. He rose quickly, his heart pounding. Liara was already awake, standing at the entrance, her silver hair glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her voice was steady but heavy. "They have found us." Ethan rushed to her side, staring into the darkness beyond the trees. At first he saw nothing, only shadows moving with the wind. Then he saw them, lights gliding between the branches, cold and sharp. The hunters were here, and this time they had come prepared. Liara turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter. "You must run." "Ethan, they want me, not you." But Ethan shook his head, his jaw set. "No, I told you before, I'm not leaving you. Not now, not ever." Her lips parted as if to argue, but the words died in her throat. She saw the fire in his eyes, a fire stronger than fear. The ground trembled as the hunters stepped into the clearing. 4 of them this time, taller than men, their armor black as night, their weapons humming with deadly light. They moved with precision, their eyes locked on Liara. One raised his hand, his voice cold and deep. "Return to your fate, child of Hiloria. You do not belong here." Liara stood firm, her voice sharp. "I will not go with you, not now, not ever." The hunter's weapon charged, blue sparks snapping through the air. Ethan grabbed the metal pipe he had carried since the city, holding it like a sword, though it felt useless against their power. Still, he stepped in front of Liara, his body trembling but his voice steady. "If you want her, you'll have to. Go through me first," the hunters laughed, a sound cold and merciless. "You are human, weak, fragile. You cannot stand against us." But Ethan's grip only tightened. "Maybe, but I can try." The hunters fired, beams of searing light tearing through the air. Ethan pulled Liara down behind a rock, the blasts scorching the ground where they had stood seconds earlier. The cave shook, rocks falling around them. Liara's hands glowed as she pushed Ethan aside. "Stay back, I cannot hide anymore." Her entire body erupted with light, brighter than fire, brighter than the moon. The hunters stumbled, shielding. Their faces Ethan watched in awe and terror as Liara rose into the air, her hair flowing like silver flames. Her voice rang through the forest, strong and unbroken. "I am Liara of Hiloria. I am not your slave. I am not your prey." The hunters fired again, their weapons blazing, but the blast struck her shield of light and shattered like glass. She raised her hands, sending a wave of energy that knocked 2 hunters to the ground, their armor cracking under the force. Ethan rushed forward, swinging his pipe at the 3rd hunter. The metal clanged against alien armor, barely denting it. The hunter turned, striking him with brutal force. Ethan fell to the ground, pain searing through his chest, but he forced himself up, coughing, his voice hoarse. "I'm not done yet." Liara saw him struggling, her eyes widening with fear. Something broke inside, her something deeper than power. Her voice trembled. "Do not hurt him." Her glow intensified, the entire forest bathed in silver light. She unleashed a storm of energy, ripping through the hunters' weapons, tearing the ground beneath their feet. One by one the hunters fell, their bodies thrown back into the shadows of the trees. The last hunter staggered, his voice filled with rage. "This is not over. Others will come. Stronger than us. Stronger than you." Liara's light burned brighter, her voice steady. "Let them come. They will find me ready." With a final strike of energy, the last hunter vanished into the darkness, retreating into the night. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of Ethan's ragged breathing. He stumbled toward Liara, his body bruised, his pipe bent and useless, but his eyes never left her, glowing with pride and fear all at once. "You did it," he whispered. "You actually did it." Liara lowered to the ground, her glow fading, her knees weak. Ethan caught her before she collapsed, holding her close. Her voice was faint, her strength nearly gone. "You risked everything for me." "Why?" Ethan smiled weakly. "Because you're worth it. You're not just some alien queen or exile, you're Liara, and I won't let anyone take you." Her eyes softened, a tear sliding down her glowing cheek. "You are human," she whispered. And yet, more. They sat together in the ruined clearing, the forest quiet once more. But above the clouds, unseen and waiting, larger ships stirred. The hunters had failed, But their masters would not stop. Liara leaned against Ethan, her voice soft but filled with warning. This was only the beginning. Ethan tightened his grip around her shoulders, his gaze fixed on the sky. Then we'll face whatever comes next. Together. The forest was quiet again, but the silence felt different now. The hunters were gone, defeated for the moment. Yet their shadow lingered in the air. Ethan sat on the ground, his chest aching, his arms wrapped around Liara, who leaned weakly against him. Her glow had dimmed, her strength nearly drained, but her eyes were still alive, still burning with light. For a long while, neither spoke. Only the crackle of broken branches and the whisper of wind filled the space between them. Finally, Ethan broke the silence, his voice low but firm. "We can't keep running forever. If they keep coming sooner or later." He stopped, unable to finish the thought. Liara lifted her head slightly, her voice soft but certain. "You are right. They will not stop. They never stop." Her words were heavy, but her eyes held something new, something Ethan had not seen before. Hope. "You gave me strength tonight, Ethan," she whispered. "Not because of your weapon, not because of power, but because you stood when no one else would." Ethan tried to smile, though his body throbbed with pain. "I'm stubborn like that." Liara's lips curved faintly, the ghost of a smile. "Yes, stubborn, human, impossible." The night passed slowly, and by dawn they had moved again, deeper into the wilderness. The world around them looked peaceful, but Ethan knew the peace was thin, fragile, ready to shatter at any moment. They found shelter in the ruins of an old cabin, its walls broken but enough to keep them hidden. Inside, Ethan tended to Liara, wrapping her wounds as best as he could with what little he had. Her silver skin bore marks from the battle. Yet, even in weakness, she looked untouchable, otherworldly. As he worked, Liara watched him quietly, her eyes soft. "No one has ever cared for me this way," she said, her voice trembling. Ethan paused, meeting her gaze. "Then they were fools." Her lips parted as if to speak, but emotion silenced her. She lowered her head, whispering, "I do not deserve it." Ethan shook his head. "You deserve more than you know." For a moment, the fear of the galaxy faded. There was only them, two souls bound not by fate but by choice. The bond between them had grown, not in words but in trust, and that bond was stronger than any weapon, but the world would not wait for them. That night, as they rested in the cabin, a low hum shook the ground. Ethan rushed outside, his breath catching in his throat. Above the trees, the sky burned with light, not from the hunters but from something far larger. A massive ship hovered silently, its shadow covering the land like a dark cloud. Liara appeared at his side, her face pale, her voice tight with fear. "It is not the hunters, it is the fleet." Ethan stared at the ship, his chest tightening. "The fleet." She nodded slowly, her eyes wide. "The ones who command the hunters, the true power behind my exile." The ship glowed with alien symbols, its presence heavy and terrifying. Ethan clenched his fists. "So this is it, isn't it? The beginning of something bigger?" Liara turned to him, her voice urgent. "If they take me, Ethan, your world will fall. They will not only erase me, they will study you, your people, and they will not stop until Earth is theirs." Ethan's mind reeled, his stomach twisting. He was only a man, just one human, and yet the weight of the galaxy pressed on his shoulders. Still, when he looked at Liara, trembling but unbroken, his fear turned to fire. "Then they won't take you," he said firmly. "Not while I'm breathing." Liara's eyes shimmered, with something between fear and admiration. She reached out, her hand resting against his, her touch warm despite the cold air. "You are human," she whispered. "And that is greater than they know." Ethan squeezed her hand, his voice steady. "Then we'll show them together." The ship above shifted, beams of light scanning the forest below. It was searching, hunting, waiting. But Ethan did not look away, his eyes fixed on the sky. The story that had begun with a strange gift was no longer about him alone. It was about Earth, about humanity, about the bond between a human and an alien who refused to bow. The cabin shook as the ship's shadow grew darker. Liara's voice trembled but did not break. The war is coming, Ethan, and the galaxy will see your world whether it is ready or not. Ethan stood taller, his body battered but his spirit unbroken. Then let them see, he said, his voice like steel. Let them see what humans can do. The dawn light broke through the trees, mixing with the cold glow of the alien ship. Two lights, human and alien, standing against the darkness. Ethan and Liara, fragile yet unshaken, looked into the sky. The beginning had ended, but something greater was about to rise, and neither of them would face it alone.